I'm going to call the meeting of the Middleton Common Council for April 17, 2018 to order. And the first item on the agenda is the roll call.
It's like Burks, absent. Olson. Here. Sullivan.
Here.
Patrick. Here. Ramsey.
Here.
Richard. Here. Teal. Here. West.
Present.
So the next item is the comments from the citizen present, it's limited to 3 minutes per speaker. And some of you have already filled out the sheets, and if you haven't, you can fill out the sheet, otherwise I will call on you in any case. So the first one is Lindsay Wallace from NEMI, and she's speaking in support.
Thank you guys for the opportunity to speak today. I'm speaking in regards to the conditional use permit and specifically adding the hospital to that for the new psychiatric hospital planned. I'm the executive director for Miami-Dade County. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And part of the reason I came here today is just because I wasn't able to make last week's April 10th Plan Commission meeting due to a prior commitment, and felt it was important that I be here tonight just to accurately state what Miami-Dade County's position is. It's my understanding that last week, Strategic Behavioral Health inaccurately stated that we fully backed and supported the facility, and in fact, we've neither come out in support or opposition and have been maintaining a neutral position. We've maintained that neutral position because we recognize there is a need for more detox and inpatient psychiatric beds in Dade County. Unfortunately, our local providers in the community have not been willing to step up and meet this need, and so Strategic Behavioral Health has. We find the new psychiatric hospital attractive for 2 primary reasons. One is its potential to reduce the number of transports to Winnebago, resulting in a less traumatic experience for the individual in crisis, and significant cost savings to local law enforcement departments and the sheriff's office. We also like its potential to divert people in crisis who committed nonviolent offenses away from jail and into treatment through the 24/7 crisis assessment unit. If the new hospital does indeed take higher level acuity patients who are uninsured and maintain an adequately staffed 24/7 crisis unit, then it can certainly meet an identified need in the community. However, we do have some concerns. And for the sake of tonight, I'm only going to highlight 2 of those that I feel are most important to the granting of a conditional use permit. And one of those is just that Strategic hasn't begun contract negotiations with local HMOs and health plans. In response, we've heard them say they do not begin this process until after construction has started. However, this practice is exactly what drove Parkway Hospital to fail in the early 1990s. Dade County has a robust healthcare system already in place, So West Strategic has talked with other payers in the area and thinks they have a good payer mix that is expressing an interest in utilizing their proposed facility. They will not make it financially. They cannot operate a viable facility if Medicaid and public dollars are their only base of support. So I would urge Strategic to begin those discussions now. We're also concerned about the series of sanctions and violations across other facilities owned by the company. What is most important to us is not the violation itself, but in examining why those issues occurred. If the violations were remedied in a timely manner, and what changes were made to prevent future violations from occurring. I do not yet have the information on how those sanctions and violations were corrected. I understand that many of the citations were in youth residential treatment programs that are not part of the planned facility here. However, it's more important for me that it's painting a picture and a trend of inadequate staffing ratios with higher acuity individuals, making the likelihood of injury to staff and patients much higher and the quality of care much lower. So those are the 2 points I just wanted to share tonight. We are in support of adding the hospital to the conditional use process, but I did just want to clarify our position tonight and provide that feedback for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. So the next speaker is Randall Cohen. And he's speaking in opposition.
Okay, thank you. I spoke at the Planning Commission and learned that wasn't the right venue for such a discussion. I'm not sure this is the right venue for such a discussion. Unfortunately, in the age of deregulation and our current political climate, discussion of privatization of healthcare, there isn't really a great forum. So we try to find things like this. And so it lands to a common council to really debate major issues about the quality of healthcare a system is proposing. Nobody would question there is a great need. There is a tremendous need. And we have 3 major non-for-profit institutions in the city, all of whom have inpatient units. And but there's been no coordination of them to step up, as Lindsay Wallace mentioned. So my concern is that how do we ever get a good, thorough evaluation of this? I sent a list of 5 pages of concerns, I think, to the members of Common Council. I don't know if you got it. I hope you did. I asked Susan West if she would call. Had she called? She didn't try to call me, but she did respond to my email early this week. I think she spoke to Ron Diamond, who is a well-known community psychiatrist in Madison for a long time, whom I certainly trust. But I would think evaluating something like this, we might want to talk to the directors of inpatient units of the other hospitals in town, the heads of the HMOs, the heads of the hospitals, because they're all in the business of healthcare, and to pretend that this one is going to succeed just off by itself and cooperate with everybody, I think is a lot of illusory wishes. So that's one concern, is just the forum for how do you get to the bottom of the quality of issues in something like this. So everybody agrees there's a lot of need, certainly a lot of need, but there's no robust process to discuss it. We're trying to make it out of this, I think. So into this void comes SBH sales team, a highly skilled sales team, promising all things to all people. I would posit to you that anybody who promises all things to all people in the field of mental health is not being quite clear. It's a grandiose position to pretend that you're one place, coming from out of town, not with a local board, not with any local control, are going to fix everything for everybody. I know the sheriff is all excited. I talked to him on the phone about not having to drive to Winnebago. I get it. Believe me, every sheriff in all of southern and most of Wisconsin is happy if they didn't have to drive to Winnebago. Why did this happen? Well, the current state administration closed Mendota to civil patients. I don't know if that was a political act or not, but since then people have been driving to Winnebago. Doesn't mean that the local groups couldn't get together if forced or if asked by the local communities to, hey, let's get together and solve this. But it hasn't happened. So into this comes this rather grandiose proposal. We will fix everything. Bring us, you're poor, you're tired, you're lonely, you're sick, we'll take care of it. That's just a very grandiose position in the field of mental health. I've been a psychiatrist for 30 years and run several inpatient units in the for-profit hospital that we talked about, which was an eye-opening procedure. Once you've worked for private healthcare, you never want to go back there. At any rate, the SBH's poo-pooed these sanctions. They must have been really amounting to nothing, and kind of, well, the reporter must have got it wrong, and we don't really bother about those things. And of course, we'll fix all regulatory problems. Don't worry about us. I submitted to you, like I say, about 5 pages of issues of quality, financial issues, i.e. the HMO funding issue, which Lindsay Wallace referred to, and I think transparency and honesty on their part. I mean, does NAMI really fully support you, or kind of? Does the University of Wisconsin Psychiatry Department really fully support you, or we learned from Susan West, questioned them last week, well, they actually hadn't contacted them. So transparency is an issue, and honesty is an issue, especially when we're in an intensive sales mission. There is an initiative started in Dane County to try to evaluate the community's needs. Dane County, Madison in particular, has a long, proud history of addressing mental health needs in the community and coordinating. And we desperately need someone to step in and coordinate all of that. And I have a suggestion about it right when I close. But anyway, there is this evaluation plan in place. They're trying to walk through it. SBH is in a hurry. They've got to get this built today. I don't know what the rush is. It seems to me, if you were a company who's really interested in the well-being of this community and providing necessary services, that you would work and wait for this community evaluation and be a part of it, rather than suddenly planting your spade in the ground and hoping that they come. I don't understand the hurry, and I don't think it shows good faith to be a part of the solution, rather than kind of announcing, we'll solve it all, we are the solution. I don't think the community works well that way. I'm curious to see if the community evaluation came through. I think they're probably scared they wouldn't be a part of it. That's one reason to hurry. But you would think if you're really involved and committed to this community, they would wait for that discussion. Lastly, two things, I guess. If this goes through, I've been sort of suggested this is horse out of the barn is just going to go. I got 1 minute and I'm done. I looked into the board of this group. I was curious. If you go on the internet, you find a lot of things, but I'm going to assume these are the board members. There's some folks that work right for the behavioral health, but then they have 3 individuals, and listen to the group here. Edward Dobbs, he's affiliated with Skyhawk Capital, GWP Holdings, Frenkel Dobbs Management. What does Dobbs Management do? Well, it's a private equity firm, venture capital, late venture growth capital, turnarounds, distressed situations, middle market, buyouts, later stage distributions. He himself is a premier distributing company. That's a distributor of beer, wine, cider, wine, spirits, and other things. Another board member, Christopher Crosby, is involved with Dobbs Management Company, late venture capital, growth capital, turnarounds, distressed situations.
So would you like to finish it?
Yep, I'm coming to it. Last one, Michael Oriens, Skyhawk Capital Management, portfolios for high worth individuals. Now it seems to me, if that's the board of this group, did you hear anything in there about mental health? What you heard was about money management. So I would say, if you're going to give them TIF funding, this is not the group who needs TIF funding. I would think that would be high on your list to question, is this group really that impoverished that they can do this? And lastly, I think that the local governance, if it goes through, I vote for you making some kind of plan. Can we have local governance? Can we have a local board that has, say, equal members of the community advocacy groups, perhaps another community psychiatrist or two, somebody from the local hospitals, rather than answering to a board that's imported from Tennessee and really I don't think is that connected to our community.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So the next speaker is Tom Gilbert. He's speaking in support.
Thank you. I appear in support of allowing Strategic Behavioral Health to build their hospital in Middleton. At the Planning Commission hearing last week, some questioned the need for this facility. My wife and I can tell you, as parents of a son with mental health issues who is incarcerated, that there clearly is a need for this facility, particularly its 24/7 assessment and referral service. Our son has spent time in prison. In the 33 months since he was released, he has spent almost 20 months in jail, while the Department of Corrections has tried to revoke his extended supervision 3 times and return him to prison. The first 2 revocation attempts occurred when our son called the police himself to self-report that he was having thoughts of harming someone. On the first of those calls, the police consulted Journey Mental Health's crisis unit. When the crisis unit heard that he was having thoughts of harming someone, they told the police to take him to jail. Big help. On the second call, our son specifically requested mental health intervention. The police understood this was a mental health crisis, but DOC supervisors insisted he be jailed and revocation proceedings were instituted. Our son didn't commit a crime. He had thoughts of doing harm and sought help. If having thoughts of harming someone were illegal, probably all of us would be in jail. Others at last Tuesday's hearing questioned the business model of SBH. Do they believe that SBH somehow lacks the competence to have adequately assessed whether their business model would work here before investing millions of dollars in a hospital facility? The bottom line for me, as a parent and a member of Moses, a local organization working to reform the criminal justice system, is that the largest mental health facility in Dane County is the Dane County Jail, where about 40% of the inmates are on medications for mental health issues. Many of them are there because, like our son, they had a mental health crisis and there was no other place to take them. So the police who respond end up taking them to jail and charging them with some crime. We can do better. If SBH is allowed to move forward with their facility, it will help fill part of the gap in mental health services in Dane County that is the subject of the soon-to-be underway county-funded study. Their 24/7 assessment and referral service is currently not available in Dane County. Giving law enforcement that option to take a person to that unit and drop them off for immediate assessment in connection with community services could have saved our son at least 2 long stays in the Dane County Jail and 2 attempts by the Department of Corrections to send him back to prison. Now, lest you think the need is limited to people who have police contacts, nearly 1 in 5 people in the U.S. experience mental health needs in every given year. My wife looked that up on NAMI's website this afternoon. For all practical purposes, the available psychiatric beds in Dane County are usually full. So let's not deny our friends and neighbors the services that they need. We need this facility and its services. I urge you to take favorable action on the matter before you.
Thank you, Tom. Really appreciate that. Does anybody else want to speak? Does anybody else want to speak on anything? So, okay, I'm going to close that part of the meeting and we're going to go to proclamations. And the first one is the National Volunteer Week and recognizing the volunteers of the Milton Senior Center. Maybe I can ask all the volunteers from Senior Center to stand up now at this time. Whereas the city of Middleton has richly benefited from the dedication of volunteers and service throughout the city, and especially at the Middleton Senior Center. And whereas volunteers of today contribute to the well-being of fellow citizens, visitors, and the welfare of all citizens by giving tirelessly of their time and energy without desire of recognition or personal gain. And whereas volunteers are visible throughout everything that happens at the Milton Senior Center by donating their time and talent for many programs. Whereas over 356 individuals held in Milton Senior Center reached its mission to enrich the lives of older adults in 37 different volunteer jobs, such as Meals on Wheels, leading classes, serving meals, health promotion and prevention programs, tax counseling, making music, and many other tasks and activities which they do. And whereas many local businesses and organizations also volunteer at the senior center, including but not limited to City Hall employees, the Milton Police Department, Future Phone, BMO Harris Bank, Gunderson Funeral Home, Hubbard Avenue Diner, Clausen's, and Costco. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Milton to hereby designate the week of April 15th through April 21, 2018 as National Volunteer Week in the City of Middleton, and to further recognize and thank all the fine citizens, businesses, and organizations that contribute to the success of the Milton Senior Center and the enrichment of the lives of older adults they serve by volunteering. So let's ask Jill and Sandy and Skylar to all stand up, and all the volunteers, and let's give them a big hand again.
I want to say one thing. Sandy wants to say lots of things. And what's really wonderful when you get Sandy Whitty is that you also get her granddaughter. So for those of you who don't know, let me introduce Miss Wisconsin USA 2017, Skylar Whitty. I'll read here. I just found this one little quote, and I wanted to read this, and then I will turn it over to Sandy. Volunteering is the ultimate exercise in democracy. You vote in elections once a year, but when you volunteer, you vote every day about the kind of community you want to live in. And I thought that really spoke to the fact that we have over 350 people who every day or every week commit to the city of Middleton to make it a better place. And a lot of that, I will give credit to Sandy Whitty, who is our volunteer coordinator, who is a whirlwind and a dynamo. And she's going to tell you a little bit about the volunteers who are here with us tonight to represent those 350 people.
Thank you, Jill.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sandy, and I want to thank you for everyone for the resolution proclaiming this week as National Volunteer Week and recognizing the volunteers of the Middleton Senior Center. The Middleton Senior Center has 356 volunteers. They consist of middle schoolers. You know, the kids come in with their brother at the class, they come around the corner and say, what do you guys do? So now we have middle schoolers volunteering. High school students, city hall employees, business employees. Our volunteers range in age from age 12 through the 80s. We just had a 90-year-old that said, maybe I shouldn't be driving anymore. Even our own mayor has volunteered. He's one of our weekend shovelers, which I do thank you. It's been quite the winter. We have 37 positions at the senior center. We have conversationalists that come in and talk with the seniors at lunch. We have people that are volunteer to be interpreters. We had one gentleman only spoke Japanese. He needed some benefits. Our case manager needed help. A young gentleman from Epic volunteered. He comes in when he can on his off days, and then he helps in the man-secured benefits just because we had an interpreter, a Japanese interpreter, which is wonderful. We have foot care. We have errand runners that run errands for people, menders, receptionists, snow shovelers. We have a Nimble Finger group. They donate over 2,000 items of crafts that they make to various charities. We have volunteers that deliver, are you ready? 4,419 meals last year in 2017. We served lunches, 4,906 lunches last year. Drivers, they drove people 621 times to their medical appointments, which is very important because otherwise they couldn't be getting to their medical appointments. Excuse me. Volunteer hours for 2017 were 25,000 volunteers hours. If you pay them $10 an hour, that's a whopping $250,000. And that they save the community by donating their time. One of my favorite quotes is, "To the world you may be one person, but to one person you may be the world." Our volunteers have a profound effect on a person's life. A kind word, a gentle touch, or a listening ear can mean so much to someone who is sick, in pain, or lonely. Volunteers generously give the gift of time to make contact, provide support and encouragement, and perhaps provide humor to make someone's day a bit more bearable because they have taken the time to care and to listen. Our volunteers give of themselves and bring within their life experiences, skills, abilities, compassion, intellect, and humor, and ask for nothing in return, yet they receive friendship, appreciation, and satisfaction. They volunteer for different reasons, but whatever the reason they volunteer, they provide support, skills, talent, and abilities to give someone hope and strength and the courage to face another day. They do not ask for accolades. They give their time generously without any expectations of reward. Now, I would like to introduce my volunteers. 20% of our volunteers work multiple positions at the Senior Center. 12% of our volunteers are either family members that work together or husband and wife teams. I would like to introduce some of our outstanding volunteers. Our first one is mother and two daughters, Florence Annan, Linda Annan, and Jan Brady. Jan is married to Tom Brady, believe it or not. So Florence, she's the matriarch of the family, starting volunteering 29 years ago doing Meals on Wheels, escort driver, and now she works in the dining serving the lunch meals. Linda and Jan are her daughters, and they volunteer as a team with their mother serving meals on Wednesdays. Linda has been working, you've been about 8 years, the last 8 years, and Jan joined us about a year ago. They love volunteering at the Senior Center to help others, making friends, and being there for our seniors. Thank you. Now we have some that used to work over at the depot, believe it or not. Carol Bakken is one of them. She started working at the depot about 22 years ago. She works with Flo and the daughters on Wednesdays. They're a dynamite team. And then she also in the past has worked delivering meals and driver escort before that. Thank you, Carol. The 20%, we have 20% of our volunteers that work multiple jobs. And one is Cindy. Cindy, where are you? Cindy Bauer. We call her the multitasker volunteer. She does the newsletter, receptionist, decorator, gardener, data entry, and anything else that I beg you to do, right? She feels that the best part of volunteering is making someone else's life better. Now we have the husband and wife teams. So 12% of our volunteers we have husband and wives, and I'd like to introduce Sharon and Ron Brand. Sharon started in 2007 working the kitchen, craft corner, cards, bakery, and Meals on Wheels. She's in charge of our Nimble Fingers. They make crafts to donate. They donate about 2,000 items a year to the Children's Hospital, Hospice, and the Vets Hospital, and many other charities. And she also works the dining and bakery on Mondays. And her other favorite part is Ron. He started in 2007 and started at Meals on Wheels. He goes to Goodwill for us to pick up medical equipment for our loan closet. So he does Meals on Wheels now, and he does an incredible amount of rides, taking people to their medical rides. He enjoys people. When he delivers meals, he might be the only person our seniors will see that day. Thank you very much. This is Doris Schrader. Everybody knows Doris. Right? She started at the depot in 1997. She's worn many hats at the Senior Center. She started as one of our drivers in 97. And then she started as a receptionist in 2003, and now she's our present Thursday afternoon receptionist. She stated she gets energized around the people at the senior center, has formed friendships with a lot of people. Thank you, Doris. And, oh yeah, she's everywhere, I tell you. So the staff of the senior center really appreciate and value every one of our volunteers. We are nothing without our volunteers. For this, we thank you. And as a matter of fact, we're always looking for more volunteers because we'd like to reach that 400 mark. So I did bring applications along. So I will leave them on the back here for you. So if anybody wants an application, feel free to fill one out. So thank you very much.
So let's give them a certificate. Let's have a picture of all of you here. So
Oh, that'd be great.
you can have a picture of everybody with the console. We can do it all here. So
You could swear them all in.
We can start I got the book. Take the picture. Okay, want an application? You want us up here? How's that show?
yeah, it's good. So maybe I can get this to you.
Yeah, super. Sandy. Super. Come on up, everybody. All right, now smile, you guys.
Everybody smile.
We're gonna advertise this.
Smile. That's better.
All right. All right, thank you.
I move approval.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is approved. So the next item is the proclamation of Earth Day. Whereas the idea for a national day to focus on the environment was the brainchild of Wisconsin Senator Gaylord Nelson. And whereas on April 22nd, 1970, 22 million Americans rallied around the country to advocate for a healthy, sustainable environment. And whereas in 1990, 200 million people in 141 countries around the world rallied in support of the environment. And whereas in 2000, hundreds of millions of people in 184 countries around the world rallied in support of the environment. And whereas in 2010, hundreds of millions of people in 192 countries around the world rallied in support of the environment. And whereas now, over 1 billion people participate in Earth Day each year. And whereas Milton citizens will be doing their part to protect the environment during the month of April, and particularly on the weekend of April 21st and 22nd. Now therefore, I, Gurdeep Brar, Mayor of Milton, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2018 as Earth Day in Middleton, and express appreciation for the citizen-sponsored events that can be found at the link throughout the city of Milton in April. Furthermore, I commend local participants in this observance and encourage all our citizens to wear green, the unofficial color of the Earth Day. Together, let's keep Milton green. This proclamation was adopted at the regular meeting of the Milton Common Council on 17th day of April 2018. So do I have a...
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So the motion is approved unanimously.
By the way, the programs for the week are on the back of the proclamation that is at your seat. We'll put that out. It's already out on the website.
Yeah, Mike did a great job. Thank you, Mike, and your intern as well. Okay, so the next item is the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next item is the agreements. So this is the stormwater management system maintenance agreement with TPD storage building at 2230 Pleasant View Road.
Move approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Any question or discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next item, the award of bid, code, and professional services, and number one is the award of bid to Badger Land Excavating Corp. for path construction at Lakeview Park.
Move approval is recommended by Finance and PRFC.
Second.
Any questions? Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the bid for Badger Land say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Item number 2, award of code to National Golf Graphics for replacement e-signs at Pleasant View Golf Course.
Move approval is recommended by Finance.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. On to the budget. Item number 1, Pleasant View Golf Course 2018 Capital Replacement Plan or Replacement Capital Plan.
Move approval is recommended by Finance.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of this item say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion for Pleasant View Golf Course Capital Replacement Plan passes unanimously. Now we are to miscellaneous. Item number 1, refer to License and Ordinance Committee concerning the promotion of voter registration for Milton tenants, and this is referred by Council Member Joanna Richard.
I'll move referral to Eleanor. Second.
Any questions or discussion? It seemed like an excellent item, should have been in place.
There was nothing in the packet. Oh, there's links for it?
Do you have a question?
I didn't see it. Oh, okay. So there's a couple different things that are under consideration, and I know I really appreciate how much Mike and Lori have brainstormed about this already, is to promote more ways for our citizens to have voter registration opportunities. And because we have so many locked buildings in the city, it's harder to reach them. So we're looking at different techniques that we might be able to reach them, whether it's the utility bill is one idea that Lori brought up. And I think it would be a great discussion to how can the city promote that and give opportunity for those easy ways to get the voter registration notice in those areas where it's really hard for someone to knock on their door. So that's what those links are, is to other opportunities, other ideas that communities have approached.
The links that Joanna's referring to are in my agenda comments. It's not the one that's in your packet, so it's the one that's separate from the packet. And I sent to you by email. So you go to that link and look at the two different options that Joanna is referring to.
And they already do in some of the other states, like in Minnesota. And one of the things is really very simple, that when the tenants move in, the manager gives them the phone. So I think that's really planned out.
It's
And that would
Minneapolis.
probably, yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of the referral of this motion to Eleanor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Item number 2, approving a list of authorized public depositories for city funds.
Move approval is recommended by Finance.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Item number 3, review of funds allocated for the backstop on the Milton Baseball and Softball Commission loan.
Move approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to review the funds allocated for the Milton Baseball and Softball Commission loan, say aye.
Aye.
So the motion passes unanimously. 5-year street improvement plan.
Move approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the, I do have questions or comments. I have already offered multiple times, we need more money to have better roads. So, but I'm going to get along with what we have right now. So, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Item number 5. Discussion and direction concerning replacement of Assessor Paul Musser, retiring end of 2018.
Move approval is recommended by finance and personnel.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, any questions, any discussion? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously for replacement of Assessor Paul Musser. Next item is the authorization to fill the position of Public Works Officer Manager Marilyn Mosijan is retiring and her last day is June 20th.
Move approval is recommended by finance and personnel.
Second.
Any questions, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to fill the position of Public Works Manager say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. Now, the item number 7 is modifying the office manager classification grade to 8 from existing grade 9.
Move approval is recommended by finance and personnel.
Second.
Any discussion? Any questions? All those in favor of this motion for the manager classification grade to 8 from grade 9, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. We are on to the ordinances. And this is a first reading. Final action may be taken on approval of the motion to suspend rules under section 1.07 of the Milton's Bill ordinances. Item number 1. Ordinance amending the general implementation plan for the community of Bishop Bay, the Black Line, increasing maximum impervious surface percentage for a minor lot types.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a quick discussion in Water Resources. We went over this, and it was a consensus of Water Resources to not oppose this because of the stormwater measures that they have taken. This would not change any of their percentages. So they are good for, with what they have in place now, they are good for a 1, 2, 10, 25, and 100-year event. So because that it was over-engineered, Water Resources doesn't oppose this.
Okay. Susan?
Yeah, I would also like to say the Stormwater Utility Board considered it in terms of fairness to all the citizens that are paying stormwater utility fees because their community of Bishop's Bay constructed the ponds and that they will be maintaining them in perpetuity. There would be no effect on, no additional costs that would have to be borne by the city.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of this motion, so did we suspend the rules or is it the first reading? Done.
First read.
First reading, okay. All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the first reading of the motion passes. On to ordinances. Ordinance to amend parking restriction on lot 5.0.
Move approval is recommended by Public Works, L&O, Council, and the Finance Committee, and everybody in between.
Second.
And you want to,
No, this is the second
oh,
reading.
okay, the second reading, okay. Any questions? Yes, Susan?
Yeah, I have one point that I'd like to bring up. It doesn't actually affect approving this, but I have had some letters about parking restrictions on this road near the brewery where we are maintaining the parking and the effect on bike lanes and the bike traffic. So I'd like to suggest that we refer that specific issue back to Public Works and Bike Pad, but that we approve what the ordinance before us.
Okay, so we pass this and then you make a different
Yeah, I
motion.
can make a different
Okay,
I have a question.
yes.
I think we've already discussed this in, if I had named that with Public Works, and the thing is, the businesses around there, they need to have some parking, maintain the parking, and that was included in the parking study and factored into the,
Did they consider, we're digressing from the.
oh, and they're gonna put, the Sharon, yeah. And once you get down to the end of High Point, it turns into a road that won't have, bike lanes either, so, an Elmwood.
Bike
Okay.
Ped has discussed this at length.
Mhm.
And
So did they unanimously think it was fine to keep the parking there?
did we pass it unanimously?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
But we did refer it back to Public Works then, right?
I was a dissenting vote at Public Works.
Yes, you were.
So it's already referred back to the Public Works, then Susan doesn't need any another additional motion.
No. If you want to refer it, go ahead.
Okay, so let's first vote on this.
Well, I think we need to vote on this.
Okay, let's vote on this one. All those in favor of this ordinance to amend the parking restriction on lot 5.0 Road, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I,
So the motion passes 6-1.
no, I was voting in favor.
Oh, okay, so it was just a little bit late. Okay, so
Yes,
the
I was
motion
trying to listen
passes.
to Howard.
Motion passes unanimously. So, okay. Okay, so do you want to make that other motion or you are happy with what it is?
I would like to refer it back to, with specifically addressing the issues of the biking community. Keeping in mind this is a major north-south biking route, and that we are trying to be a sustainable city, and encouraging biking is important.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of sending this to, are you sending Eleanor or Public Works or who?
Public Works and Bike Ped.
Okay, referring to this to Public Works and Bike Ped, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So-
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-1. We are on to planning and zoning. The first item is the ordinance and the general implementation plan for the airport business park, LB Investments Incorporated to add hospital as a conditional use for lots 2 and 3, certified survey map 13,300, 3169 Deming Way.
I just want to be noted that I'm abstaining from this discussion. And
Okay, okay, all right, thank you.
I will move approval.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
If I may, I'd like to ask Lindsay Wallace about this. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
Appreciate you coming today. So, when I was listening to you speak, and I was thinking about everything we heard planning in terms of people being against this and what we've been hearing from the community, I wanted to know if NAMI has a position on having facilities like this in an area like this with daycares and such, or how you guys feel about those issues.
Well, we just recently learned about the site, so we haven't actually had further discussions. So I wouldn't be able to at least have a position, but I can bring that back to our board and provide that to you guys in writing. But at the top of my head, I don't see this being an issue with other kinds of businesses in the area. So we have hospitals with inpatient psychiatric units, and sort of the mid-city area, and they're also around those kinds of businesses as well.
Thank you.
So Lindsay, while you're there, so there are hospitals where the houses are close by, like in this case, there's a daycare center or...
Well, like UW Health, for example, has neighborhoods right behind it. I'm sure within those business areas that they have other like daycare centers and stuff like that. So same with St. Mary's, they're off of Aaron Street. That's a residential neighborhood and business community. So it's sort of mixed use properties.
Okay, so that's not uncommon.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, or any other comments or whatever?
I would like to remind council of the letter from Lynn Green, who's the director of Maine County Human
Yep.
Services, that I hope everyone saw. It was sent to the mayor, and they are in full support of this.
Yeah.
I will also say, in talking to Ron Diamond, who is one of my constituents, recently retired psychiatrist at UW, I asked him specifically about this to the public in the areas, and he had a very simple answer of no.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so the motion is to approve the ordinance to amend the GIP for Airport Road Business Park.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Have a roll call vote, please.
Okay. So, Mike, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Olson?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Aye.
Hedrick?
Aye.
Ramsey?
Aye.
Richard?
Abstain.
She's abstaining.
Keel?
Aye.
And West?
Aye.
Okay, so one abstaining and the motion passes 6-0. Okay, we are on to the resolutions. Thank you, Lindsay. Resolution number 1. Resolution 2018-19 authorizing the reappropriation of 2017 year-end capital fund budgets into 2018 and related budget adjustments.
Move approval is recommended by the finance.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Okay, if there's no discussion, the resolution is to authorize the reappropriation of 2017 year-end capital fund budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Resolution 2018-20 for outdoor recreation grant for Community Olympic Development Program.
Move approval is recommended by the finance.
Second.
Any discussion, any questions? All those in favor of this motion apply for this grant say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Resolution 2018-21 for outdoor recreation grant application on Century Avenue Trailhead.
Move approval is recommended by the finance.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Resolution 2018-22 supporting application for urban non-point source stormwater management program grant.
Move approval is recommended by the finance.
Second.
Any questions, any discussion? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Mayor?
So that's it. Yeah. So, go ahead.
Before we adjourn, Sunday, I'd like to just extend my appreciation for Elizabeth's work on the council. She's been, jumped in when we had the vacancy, and I think she's done a great job representing her district and helping us sort through some issues on the council. And I will miss her as a colleague, and I hope she doesn't stop her activism in city government and other activities.
And I agree with Joanna, you did an absolutely outstanding job. Thank you, Joanna. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn Sendai. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the city council is adjourned, Sendai. Okay, do I just open it right now or do we need to wait?
She has to leave.
I have to leave, exactly. You can't open it.
Take your nameplate.
There you go. Thank you.
Emily, you want to come forward here? Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting of the new council to order. And the first item is I'm going to ask all the elected officials to step forward, and we are going to be administered an oath of office.
All the newly elected.
All the newly elected, please.
Duly elected.
All of the even numbered districts.
So we have one missing.
Robert.
He's in Germany.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your name, have been elected to the office of alderperson.
Have been elected to the office of alderperson
For the city of Middleton.
for the city of Middleton.
I swear that I will support.
I swear that I will support
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
And will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of said office to the best of my ability.
of said office to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Great job.
You gotta come back up.
Emily. Okay, I'm going to declare the new council duly convened. And I'm going to ask for the election of the council president.
I'll nominate Susan West.
Second.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Yes, sir, please, Annie.
You don't have to.
Okay. Okay, then the motion is to, nomination is for Susan West as council president. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next is the nomination for president pro tem.
I'll nominate Joanna Richard.
I'll second.
Okay, any other nominations? Any other nominations? Then all those in favor of the nomination of Joanna Richard for President Pro Tem say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the Plan Commission representative.
I'd like to nominate Dan Ramsey for a representative on the Plan Commission.
Second.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, then all those in favor of Plan Commission nominee Dan, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next item is the committee appointments. Need a motion for the confirmation of mayor's recommended council appointments to the city committees.
I would recommend approval of the mayor's council appointments with 2 small changes, that Dan Ramsey be on LNO and that Emily Kuhn not be on LNO. And both of those have agreed to this.
Make that change.
I would think you could, yes.
But that will be,
Well, I think that if it's separate from the list, it probably should be voted on separately.
well, that would have to be, that she had to make that motion separately.
So I should make a motion specifically that Dan be appointed to LNO? Is that it?
I don't think
Larry?
she can, like, let the mayor's glory get into point, right? She can't really make that motion. Right?
She can make a recommendation to the mayor.
Yeah, she can make a
Yeah,
recommendation,
so
but
that's-
that won't be, this motion will be to approve as it is, and I already said that we will discuss this, so.
Yeah, why don't you discuss it first, and then you can make a decision after hearing the discussion. Perhaps that would be the better way around it.
You mean now?
Yeah, right now, unless you want to defer this to another meeting.
So I've got comments.
But you have to put
Dan
someone on
has-
the spot, right?
Well, I assume this was not raised previously, so it's necessarily.
Dan, is it possible we could discuss this afterwards? With,
I would like to say something.
three of you as we have proposed?
It's Susan's
That's
The
motion,
chair
so
of
let her make comment.
LNO. Dan has served on it. This year we had 2 new council members serving on LNO. It's a committee that does a lot of important work. We are in charge of the alcohol licenses and additionally of granting approval for special event permits and so on. But we also look at all the ordinances and ordinance changes and do quite a bit of work on actually formulating some of these ordinances. It's a committee that I think we do need some people with experience on it. At the moment, I'm the only one with the way it's being constituted now. I think Dan would be, and he is willing to stay on it and would like to stay on it. So I think it would be very good. I've discussed it with Emily. She was quite comfortable with this.
Is that true?
Yes, she called me today.
So is it okay with you?
Yes, sir.
So then we will, so by giving this up, there's something else with you. So are you replacing some other, you would like me to find something else for Emily?
No, I think she's got an adequate amount of committee work.
Okay, so it's okay with you and it's okay with you then, right? Okay, all right, we make that change. So that motion is to approve all the appointments with that change. Any other discussion? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Need a second? So we are adjourned. Thank you.